All right, let's get started. Notes and handout, have them handy. Jefferson believed power comes from who? The people. What is his belief that land ownership is the key to a strong country, strong backbone of the country? What's that called? Agrarianism, yes. Where is the U.S. Military Academy? West Point. What started growing very much that provides intellect, as we just had? Deductive reasoning, provides knowledge. Universities and colleges you could throw in there, yes. Okay. Westward expansion. What happened in Haiti? And what does it have to do with the Louisiana Purchase? Good. Where was France fighting enough wars? They felt they had enough, battles going on. Aiden.
Europe.
Can you be more specific? Europe's a very big place. Go ahead.
Britain.
Yeah, that was the big one. Battle of Trafalgar, Lord Nelson. Ring a bell? Just say yes.
Yeah.
Who else? Say Spain.
Spain.
And 1812. You music people, you. Tchaikovsky wrote the 1812 overture because of the French invasion. No? Sarah, does that ring a bell?
Yeah, no.
You ever hear the cannons in the song? That's what it's from. Yeah. No? Yes? Is that just a head bob yes? Or is that a, yeah, I heard that before? Yes.
Yeah, I know that song.
Okay. You're not too convincing, but okay. Go ahead and hit the lights, please. Congressional, constitutional issues. We're going to go through this again. I know we did yesterday, but let's just read through this. Aiden, go.
President Thomas Jefferson is on Jefferson realized the importance of New Orleans, needed New Orleans to develop the West and major trading port. Jefferson noticed the Constitution does not clearly give him the power to purchase Louisiana. Biggest problem: Jefferson noticed that adding more territories and states would decrease the power of the current states and the Federalists won't like.
So 2 things to keep in mind. He wants New Orleans. New Orleans is obviously a huge port, and of course the implied powers that he'll have to use. And also, it really was a violation of state rights that he is carrying out. At least that's what they accused him of. One other thing I want to mention there, as you can see, the Federalists won't like it. Keeping that in mind. Okay? On we go. Aiden, keep rolling.
When Thomas Jefferson received the treaty for the Louisiana Purchase, he was unsure of his constitutional authority to accept it. The Constitution made no provision for the acquisition of new land. Jefferson suppressed his qualms over constitutionality and used a loose interpretation of the Constitution. Would this be implied powers or enumerated powers?
Implied. Okay, on we go. Jefferson's motivation. Once again, so why does he do this even though he knows it's really not constitutional? Bryson, will you read through this, please?
Jefferson's motivation: unimpeded access to a port of New Orleans. Would complete what treaty? Extending this.
You remember what treaty that is?
Oh, wasn't it the Treaty of Paris? I think
it's not the Treaty of Paris, but it does start with a P.
Yeah.
Pinckney's Treaty, yes. Okay, which gave the United States the authority to use the Mississippi. Keep rolling.
Extending the sphere of the Republic and allowed us to become a world power, ensuring the future of American agriculture. What belief?
And what belief is that?
Agrarianism.
Make sure you have that number 2 there for sure. It did allow us to become a world power. Oh my goodness, you want to know that. Now, it could have gone the other way. Remember, just owning land doesn't mean you're all of a sudden a world power. You have to use it correctly, use the resources, etc. But number 2, you really want to know. The Louisiana Purchase allowed the United States to become a world power. A world power. Okay, and James Monroe sent, of course, future president. You're looking at about 828 square miles, 15 million acres, or $15 million, 13 states, and you get the idea. Okay, the land boundaries were not clearly defined. I mentioned that yesterday. And again, it's not like we sent a team of surveyors out there. It would take thousands of people, but it's pretty much agreed to for the most part. Okay. Jefferson's attitude. Okay, let's read through this. Kaylee.
Jefferson's attitude towards Native Americans. Jefferson offered Native Americans to become settled farmers and join white society, and insisted that they give up claims to tribal land.
Okay, so what Jefferson offered here basically was citizenship for Native Americans. That's what I want you to understand. But the deal was Native Americans had to give up tribal customs, their tribal lands, and literally join states. It was not very effective. That comes later on. Okay, it does come later on. So again, basically offering citizenship to Native Americans. Later on it happens, but not yet. Late 1800s. Okay, let's take a look at this. Maggie, please.
An intelligent officer with 10 or 12 chosen men, fit for the enterprise and willing to undertake it, taken from our posts where they may be spared without inconvenience, may explore the whole line, even to the Western Ocean, and have conferences with the natives on the subject of commercial intercourse, get admission among them for our traders, as others are admitted, agreed on convenient deposits for an interchange of articles, and return with the information acquired in the course of 2 summers.
And that's Jefferson's secret message to Congress regarding Lewis and Clark expedition. What's the purpose of this? What's the purpose of this message? You can tell me the purpose. Purpose. Good.
To get Congress to authorize the
Okay. Point of view? Aiden?
Thomas Jefferson.
That's not point of view. Point of view is what his main point is. Jefferson would be the author, not point of view. Okay? So what's his point? What point is he making?
That it is a good idea for this trip to happen so that they can learn about the land that they just bought.
Okay, I don't disagree with that. I think there's a little bit more, though, than just learning. What else is the goal here? Go ahead.
They want to find a route to the Pacific.
Okay? And one other thing. Why are the words like commercial being up there and deposits, interchange? Amy?
They're trying to figure out how they can use this most effectively.
Yeah, very, very much. Okay, very good with that. All right, so we get the idea here. Just take a look at this. And a lot of this, you said, very good. Okay, very good. And look at that last part there. Okay, trading opportunities and be beneficial to his expansion plans. All right, Journey to the Core of Discovery. This is huge. This is big. This is important. Not that all the others aren't. So what role did the Core of Discovery? Obviously, yes, Lewis and Clark get the press, but I also want you to know Sacagawea and York actually pronounce Sacagawea. Here's a little tidbit of information. Sacagawea has actually been said, and I believe it, to be the first woman to vote in the United States. I'll tell you that story as we go through it. But I think that's something you should be aware of. Lewis, Clark, Sacagawea, and York. Corps of Discovery. Jefferson sends this Corps of Discovery out west. Okay? All right, on we go. Lewis and Clark, they left St. Louis. I do want you to know St. Louis was considered the gateway. What's that on the right side? Anybody know what that's called? Amy. It's called the Gateway Arch. And yes, it's in St. Louis. The Gateway. What's it made out of, Aiden?
Iron.
Yeah, close. It's actually made out of steel. I love telling this story. St. Louis, they make their Gateway Arch. Guess where they got the steel from? Take a guess. Go ahead.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah, Pittsburgh. They got their steel from Pittsburgh. Yes, Charles. Yes, they did. This will be like going to the moon. Okay? Up the Missouri River, explore the new territory, cross the Rockies, Pacific Ocean, and come back. Many thought it would never work. Have you ever gone for a one-day hike in the mountains? Now do this for the better part of a year. Well, over a year. Almost 3 years. Better take a lot of cans of Campbell's, right? Well, what if they don't have it? Okay. Many thought they would never return. All right, let's read it just to hear it real quick. Amy, please.
Little was known about the area west of Mississippi. The goal was to find a waterway to the Pacific, 3,000 miles, like a journey to the moon. Lewis and Clark up the Missouri River and explored the new territory, across the Rockies to the Pacific.
Okay, that's the Gateway Arch. I have a This Day in History. We can watch that tomorrow. But more importantly, that we look at the right side and understand the geography. St. Louis was considered the gateway city. Okay. And you see which way they're going. Okay, take a look at the map there so you see what we're doing. Right up the Missouri and coming back. Okay, right up the Missouri, coming back. Another picture of it. And obviously that part there in green is the Louisiana Purchase. I guess that's green. Or is it olive? I don't know. Moving on. Lewis and Clark. Okay, and what you're looking at there is the historical marker. They actually went through Louisville on the way to get there. When they came back, they went to Louisville. That's why that's there. And that is right on the Ohio River. Okay, moving on. I want you to know this. Lemhi Pass. The Lemhi Pass is where they cross the Continental Divide. Lemhi Pass. It's where they cross the Continental Divide. Why was it called that? Well, when they got up on the Rocky Mountains, they stood face to face with the woolly mammoths. And they said to the woolly mammoths, "Let me pass." And the woolly mammoth said, "Yes, go ahead." Make sure you write that down. That will be on the test, especially the woolly mammoth part. No, Bryson, don't write that down. Anybody know what the Continental Divide is? I do want you to be aware of that. What is the Continental Divide and why is it such a big deal? Okay, so we can see this. You see that Lemhi Pass is actually right over in this area. I'll show you here. I thought I had a map. Go. Sorry. The Lemhi Pass. There it is. Okay. There's the Continental Divide. Anybody figure out the significance? Everyone saw your hand.
Is it something with the tectonic plates?
Well, it has a lot to do with that, yes. Go ahead.
Rockies?
And the Rockies, yes. There's a little more to it. These arrows symbolize water flow. Can you figure it out? Go ahead.
The water coming off the Rockies could, depending on which side of the divide it falls on, it goes to that side of the continent,
And what's that side of the continent?
either east or west.
Close. We would say either Gulf of Mexico or Pacific, so it's kind of south, but you get the idea. It is kind of flowing east and then south. So if you're on the east side, the water flows to the Gulf of Mexico. On the west side, it flows to the Pacific Ocean. That's a continental divide. Just want you to be aware of that. Okay? There's the continental divide. Okay, so you can see what's going on there. Fort Mandan is worthy of mention. That was a key spot on their voyage. Let's talk more about that here in just a few minutes. But again, you can see this tremendous undertaking as it was. Notice that Oregon country was actually claimed by Britain, Russia, Spain, U.S. We'll get to that later on. Talk more about that. Okay, but just be familiar with that map. There you see Spanish Florida again. That's coming up with a guy named Andrew Jackson, Jacksonville, Florida. Okay, but we'll get to all that. Okay, you probably have seen these, I think worthy of mention. 2005, History in Your Pocket. Let's take a look at this. Aiden, please.
2005, History in Your Pocket. This buffalo also reminds us of the American Indians who counted on the animal for food, clothing, and shelter. And all of the wildlife that the explorers brought back to the United States as a record for science. The second reverse design shows a view of the Pacific Ocean, a goal that the Lewis and Clark expedition reached after more than a year of hard travel. The scene surrounds a quote written by Captain Clark, "Ocean in view of the joy."
Can you say that quote again? Now, come on. He was traveling for a whole year. Yeah. No.
Ocean in view, oh the joy.
All right, Sarah, you better try.
Ocean in view, oh the joy.
I do want you to know that quote. I know it might not be as huge as "So Help Me God," but anyway. He did say, "Ocean in view, oh the joy." But as you can see there, the coins, etc. Anybody ever seen them? Yeah. So we're a little familiar. Let me talk about this. The bison. The bison are, well, after the late 1800s, the United States government actually killed lots of bison by the millions, actually, for two purposes: to put the railroads through the West and also to control Native American tribes. Not a whole lot remained. What you're looking at is one of the few bison herds, and when I was there, I was lucky enough to see them. Now, whenever you go to wildlife, a little bit of disclaimer, you don't get close to them. As you can see, these bison have their young. But I was actually zooming in with a very good camera. I mean, I'm hundreds and hundreds of yards away, actually. Okay. I'm not getting close to that thing. And you can see, even as far away as I was, that's a little deceiving up in the background. That is one of the few roads in that 200 square miles. And that's actually not a paved road. So to have people up there, that didn't happen too often. Okay. Again, as you can see, this was summertime, and to have really the bison out at that time of day was almost unheard of. So we are very lucky to see them. Okay. So just to mention that. Pretty cool. Just something I wanted to show you. You don't see that in downtown Loyalton every day. Okay. All right. Zebulon Pike has nothing to do with Lewis and Clark, but I want to mention him. Zebulon Pike, he explored the southwest United States, whereas Lewis and Clark went northwest. Explored the southwest United States. Zebulon Pike. You might have heard of Pikes Peak, Colorado, named for him. I did not drive up there. I could have. There's a road that goes up there, but I didn't have time that day. They actually have you pull off several spots on the way down. They check the temperature of your brakes with a machine goes under to make sure your brakes aren't overheating. Because if your brakes overheat, obviously you have a problem. Okay. But again, wanted to mention that. That's from an airplane. Actually, a student brought that in. That one I took. This a student took. Obviously, as you can tell, it's a lot higher than what it looks. Okay. But Pike's exploration convinced many Americans that land between the Missouri and the Rocky Mountains was undesirable. Boy, is that ever going to change. That is really going to change. That attitude. Okay. Many Americans that land between the Missouri and the Rocky Mountains was undesirable. Okay, for